Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Choosing Beggars. Story 1. No need to beg now. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 2. The audacity. Story 3. 30-year-old disappointed she only got 2 gifts from Christmas program meant for underprivileged children. Story 4. So this happened today. Just for context, R150 is 7.93 USD. Story 5. My beggar story. I work at a coffee shop in a big city. For context. When I was closing up shop about a month ago, a man comes in and asks for a coffee. I don't like to assume that people can't pay because I feel like that could be rude if they were planning to pay, so I rung him up for a coffee. He then sheepishly told me that he couldn't actually afford the coffee and was hoping I could just give him one. Normally, I wouldn't, because we are in an area of town with so many homeless people around that if I gave one person a free cup of coffee, suddenly I'd start getting homeless regulars on top of the normal ones. It's literally under 10 minutes before close though, and I had a whole pot of coffee that I was about to dump down the sink, so I was like, what the heck, I'll give him a cup. He had an anxious energy about him which made me feel cautious, so I kept an eye on him even as I turned to get him a coffee. The pot is on the counter behind the register. As soon as he thinks I've completely turned away from him, he sticks his hand into my tip jar lightning fast. Luckily, I was watching him and have very fast reflexes, myself, so I swung around and caught his wrist and held him in a vice grip. His eyes got super wide and he started saying he was sorry over and over again, and I told him to get the fuck out and never come back. Well, last week as I was closing and he walks in and asks for a coffee. I guess maybe he thought I forgot about him or that I wouldn't remember what he looked like. I told him once again to get the fuck out of my shop. He would walk a few steps, then turn toward me very slowly like he was expecting me to change my mind, so I had to yell at him to get out like 3x. Ugh. I do like to help people when I can, but people really make it hard sometimes. Story 6. The choosing beggar that took my kindness for weakness and ended up getting a bunch of free tattoos from me. This happened quite a number of years ago, but I still remember it. I apologize ahead of time as this is going to be a long story. I'm not entirely sure what actually happened to this guy, or if what he told me was true or not in the end. It was in the middle of an insanely busy summer. I work by appointment only, so I had been booked out for a multitude of weeks ahead, and that was with me scheduling myself to work 6 days a week. There was also a brief stint where I ended up booking myself for 3 weeks straight with no days off. All of this is to say I was incredibly damn busy. One Saturday, in the middle of the afternoon, our very sweet front desk person gave me a paper with a name and number on it. They asked me to please call this guy back ASAP, as he'd been calling all morning asking for me, asking them to please tell me to call him back immediately. Apparently he called like every 45 minutes and my awesome front desk person was understandably annoyed and just wanted him to stop calling. So I call him back. We'll call him Barry. Now I don't know if this was true or if this man was just an exceptional actor, but he proceeds to tell me that he's in his 70s, he was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer and was not going to make till the end of the month. How he was foregoing hospice and he just wanted to die at home with his family. His last wish is to have his last granddaughter's name tattooed on him, as he had all the others tattooed already and he didn't want to die without her name on him, too. He intermittently got choked up, voice wavering while telling me all this. Now me, I do my absolute best not to show any negative emotions while I'm at work, but while he was telling me this whole situation, I had tears running down my face and was also getting choked up, too. Because this whole situation was so damn heartbreaking and I am the type of person that will do anything and everything possible to help someone. So I moved my schedule for the day around and had him come in as my very last appointment, which meant that I started my day at noon and didn't get out until almost 9:30 that night. During the tattoo, emotions and tears were shed, followed by hugs at the end. I didn't charge him for the tattoo, because that just felt like a massively dick-like thing to do on my end. 3 days later, he calls the shop repeatedly again trying to get in touch with me. I instantly panicked thinking that I somehow did something wrong and somehow caused something bad to happen right away. Everything is okay with the tattoo, but the situation with his cancer is significantly worse and he's not going to make much longer. But this time he really needs me to do a tattoo of his dog's paw print before he goes. Now I'm starting to feel a kinda way. Because I'm the only female tattoo artist and I started to realize that he probably never even tried to get in touch with any of my, at that time, 8 other male co-workers and sought me out especially because I was a woman and would most likely be easier to persuade. Nonetheless, I accommodate him, same scenario as last time, late as fuck, at the end of the day. Just when I'm done with that one, he pulls out a piece of paper with childish scrawl that says I love you pop pop. And he asks me if I could, real quick, tattoo this on him as well. So I say okay because I know it'll only take me a few minutes to do it. But yet again, I can't find it in my heart to charge him. The man is dying after all, and I'd feel like a massive dick if I charge him. So I don't. A week later, he starts calling my shop again and I'm internally groaning. This time he wants a portrait of his wife. Portraits take at a minimum of 3 hours. And this I absolutely do not have the time for, and as empathetic as I am, I'm starting to feel taken advantage of at this point. So I tell him that the best I can do is tattoo her name as I simply do not have the time for a whole ass portrait. He starts getting huffy with me and I told him he can take it or leave it. Every single time he had to wait more than that very same day, he would get more and more demanding. He always wanted me to drop everything I scheduled for that day and get him in immediately. And if he had to wait more than a day, he would lay it on thick that he hopes he can make it that long. If I'm still alive by then I'll see you for the appointment. He takes it, but this time while I'm doing it, I could tell he was pissy with me and if I tried to make conversation with him, I'd only get one-word answers from him until we just ended up in silence. No thank you from him. He's never given me a tip from any of the other tattoos I did on him, so I'm not surprised when I didn't get one this time either. After that, I didn't hear from him anymore and I assumed he passed. And honestly, it made me really sad, despite our last encounter. I always do my best to do random acts of kindness, and doing all those tattoos on Barry was my act of kindness. I went out of my way to bring even a small amount of happiness to a dying man. But this story doesn't end here. About 2 years after the last time I tattooed him, I saw him in a supermarket, carrying one of his granddaughters on his shoulders. I wasn't sure it was him until he was facing the meat department, but had his left arm still on the rail of the shopping cart and plain as day, you could see the tattoos I did of his granddaughter's name, the one with her writing on it and further down, his dog's paw print. I didn't say anything because I'm incredibly non-confrontational. But I was pissed for being taken for a fool, for having my kindness be taken for granted and having my emotions fucked with. I've lost more people than I can count. The ones that hit me the hardest were losing my brother, who was like my twin, and losing my best friend last year. So when I do memorial tattoos, I put my whole heart into them. Tattooing what I thought was a dying man, I put the same amount of heartfelt care in them that I would have wanted had I gotten a memorial tattoo for them. Finding out it was a bullshit scam to get some free tattoos, it was a hurt and anger that's really hard to put into words. Hope you're fucking happy, Barry. Story 7. A short little wish list. A quickly thrown together wish list on a local buy nothing group. Story 8. Entitled Customer Thinks His Charity is Better Than the One I Work At. This happened a few months ago and I'm still confused about it, so let's get to the cast. M is me, EI is entitled Idiot, TL is total legend. So I work in a charity shop in the UK, so you'd think we wouldn't get many e-tiles customers given that the things we sell are used. However, on this day that changed. I was working at the till when EI comes up to a display case we have. It has nicer things in it. One of these things was a sterling silver knife set for 40. It had a few bits of damage but was otherwise in good condition, so here's how it went. EI, how much for the knife set? M, 40 EI, but it's damaged I know maybe I can talk to my boss and agree to a lower price I'll pay 20 for it. I run a charity myself that might be a bit too low for it. I'll have to check and see. We are a charity as well well my charity is better than yours. At this moment a total legend appears and says I'll pay full price for it, which causes this looking like his head is going to blow. Excuse me? TL, I want to pay full price for it but I'm getting it for the price I said I haven't sold it to you yet so you're more willing to sell it to this person instead of me? He offered more money, so unless you want to offer more this is an outrage. I run a charity that's much better than this one. Yes, he actually shouted that. Sir, please calm down. And but before I could continue he storms it to the shop door and says, you've just lost a valuable customer before leaving. TL bought the knife set and told me he was going to refurbish it and turn it into an heirloom item for his grandkids. Later on my boss told me that tried to submit a complaint against me, but she told him she heard everything from her office in the back. Some people Edit. He never said what charity he owns, so I doubt he actually owns a charity. Story 9. CB gets instant karma. So this happened about 5 years ago. I was working as a parapro for the school district of the city I lived in. My contract required me to clock a certain number of hours as a bus monitor. I had to drive through this one particular intersection every weekday, and I saw the same woman every afternoon for like 2 years. Toward my last year working this particular route, she started getting more creative. She started making signs that said she was fundraising on behalf of different organizations. I knew she was lying because I saw her every day and she was never wearing any type of t-shirt or anything that was related to these organizations. One day toward the end of the school year, it was really hot. I had a cold bottle of water in my lunchbox. I offered it to her and she took it and then threw it back into my car through the window. It seemed like she regretted it pretty instantly, though, and had the audacity to ask if she could have it back. I said no and rolled up my windows and kept them up every time I saw her in the future. Edit number 1. To clarify, usually when there is fundraising going on, it's done by students wearing sports uniforms, firefighters wearing logo shirts, or people wearing a shirt with the organization name on it. Even when people are in plain clothes, they usually at least have a can with a label on it, not an old big gulp cup. Edit number 2. This keeps coming up in the. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.